You ever have those days where it feels like nothing's happening? Like you're showing up, doing the work, trying to stay grounded, but something inside whispers, you're not getting anywhere. That feeling, that slow, silent ache that wraps around your chest, is more common than most people admit. And it's not because you're broken. It's because progress, real, lasting progress, doesn't always announce itself. We live in a world that celebrates before and after. The glow-ups, the overnight wins, the clean timelines that skip over the mess. But real life doesn't work like that. In real life, the change that matters most often hides. It hides in the days you don't give up. It hides in the moments when you choose not to lash out, even though you're tired and hurting. It hides in your silence, when you could have spoken to defend your ego, but didn't. It hides in your boundaries, in the meals you actually cooked, in the nights you cried, but still showed up the next day. Nobody claps for those moments. There's no medal for brushing your teeth when you're depressed. No applause for saying no when you used to say yes, just to be liked. But that's the thing. Not all progress is visible, and that doesn't make it any less real. Some days, your greatest victory is just not collapsing, not giving up, not sending that message you know you'd regret, not letting your past self decide who you're becoming now. We talk a lot about goals, milestones, transformations, but you want to know what real growth looks like? It's messy, it's quiet, it's the kind of thing that happens in the background while your mind is screaming that you're behind. There's this lie that tells us if we don't see the change, it must not be there. That if it's not on a chart or a selfie or a highlight reel, it doesn't count. But healing doesn't work that way. Self-respect doesn't work that way. Becoming who you're meant to be takes time, and more importantly, it takes faith. Not faith in a perfect outcome. Faith in the process. Faith that showing up again and again, even when you don't feel the shift, is the shift. You're not the same person you were last year. You're not even the same person you were 3 months ago. But because change is slow and subtle, we miss it. Like watching a tree grow. You don't notice it until one day you look up and realize the branches are reaching further than you thought. Let me ask you something. Have you ever gone through something incredibly hard and thought at the time, this is breaking me? But then months later, you look back and realize it built you? That's the paradox of growth. It rarely feels good in the moment. It often feels like doubt. It often feels like nothing's changing. And yet, you are. The problem is, we're addicted to results. We want proof. We want signs. But the most important progress you'll ever make? It happens in the absence of proof. That's why most people give up too early. Because they don't see the return fast enough. Because nobody's watching. Because it feels like standing still. But you're not standing still. You're planting roots. And roots don't grow where people can see them. They grow in the dark. In the pressure. In the stillness. Maybe right now, your life feels like that. Like you're beneath the surface. Like nothing's happening. But what if I told you that this, right now, is part of the becoming? You don't always get to see the payoff right away. You don't always get the clarity, the applause, or the breakthrough on demand. But if you keep showing up, something is happening. Even if it's just a small shift in how you speak to yourself. Even if it's just a slightly softer way of handling your own pain. Even if it's just one less self-sabotaging decision. That counts. That's growth. That's forward. You want to know who you're becoming? Watch how you act when nobody's watching. That's where the real work is. That's where the real progress lives. And you, right now, even if you don't feel it, you're already in motion. You're already becoming. And so, we keep walking. Even when the steps feel small. Even when no one notices. Even when we're the only ones who know we moved forward at all. That's where true progress lives. It's not loud. It doesn't beg for applause. It exists in quiet shifts. In a person who chooses to pause before reacting. In someone who shows up even though they feel like a failure inside. In a heart that's still healing, but still loving anyway. Here's the hard truth. The most powerful progress you'll ever make won't come with fireworks. It will come in the ordinary. In the morning you get out of bed when your soul feels heavy. In the decision to try again even after disappointment. In the moment you tell yourself, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I was either. We often think change needs to be radical. But real transformation starts in the quiet places no one else sees. The world teaches us to chase visible milestones. Job titles, bank accounts, follower counts. But the soul knows something deeper. That healing, growth, maturity, they happen beneath the surface. like the roots of a tree expanding underground before the branches reach the sky. You don't see them growing, but without them, the tree could never stand tall. You're becoming like that. And maybe no one else notices how much stronger your roots have become. But you do. You know what it took to hold yourself together when everything felt like it was falling apart. You know how many battles you've fought just to be here. Listening, still breathing, still caring. That is progress. Don't you dare minimize it. Because here's what happens when we ignore the invisible wins. We begin to feel like failures for being human. We punish ourselves for not being productive enough. We compare our hidden pain to someone else's curated highlight. And worst of all, we stop trusting our own growth. So let me say this as clearly as I can. If you're being honest with yourself, if you're doing the hard inner work, if you're choosing peace over performance, grace over guilt, then you are growing, even if no one claps. And that kind of growth, it changes everything. Because invisible progress isn't really invisible. It just shows up in different ways. It shows up in your tone when you talk to yourself, in your patience when life doesn't move fast enough, in your ability to sit with discomfort without needing to escape it. That's the kind of progress that makes visible success sustainable. Without it, you burn out. You chase validation. You feel like nothing is ever enough. But when you honor your slow steps, you build something real. And that's the shift I want you to make. Stop looking for proof in the mirror or the numbers or the outside noise. Start listening to the quiet voice inside that says, "Hey, I'm proud of you. I see how far you've come. Maybe today you didn't conquer the world, but you didn't give up either. Maybe you didn't finish the list, but you showed up, tired and imperfect, and you did your best. That matters. That counts. That builds the kind of strength the world can't take from you. Because the reward of slow, invisible progress is not applause. It's self-respect. It's peace when you put your head on the pillow at night, knowing you lived with intention, not perfection. And over time, those small acts compound. You start showing up differently. Your relationships feel deeper. Your reactions get calmer. Your goals become more aligned with who you really are, not who you're trying to impress. That's how transformation happens. Quietly, consistently, courageously. And it begins with the choice to value what the world ignores. So ask yourself this. What if you stopped chasing the kind of progress that gets clicks and started honoring the kind that gets you free? Because freedom isn't flashy. It doesn't always look like much, but it feels like peace. It feels like truth. And it feels like you, without the mask. That's the version of yourself you're growing into. Not the one who looks successful, but the one who's becoming whole. So if you're still wondering whether your quiet efforts matter, they do. Every time you choose to respond calmly instead of exploding, that's progress. Every time you get out of bed when it's the last thing you want to do, that's progress. When you apologize, when you forgive, when you reflect before speaking, when you decide to keep trying even though the world doesn't seem to notice, that is real transformation. Because progress is not just about external success, it's about internal shift. The person you're becoming is more patient, more grounded, more thoughtful. That doesn't show up in metrics, but it shows up in who you are at your core. And if that's all you do this week, if all you have is the quiet victory of not giving up, then you've done more than enough. The road is not straight. It dips and turns, it loops back, it hides itself in fog. But keep walking. You don't have to sprint. You don't have to shine. You just have to keep going. And someday, someone will look at you and wonder how you became so steady, so clear, so peaceful. And you'll know it wasn't magic. It was those days when nothing made sense, but you showed up anyway. You don't have to prove your growth. You just have to live it. So the next time you wonder if you're behind, if you're broken, if it's all pointless, remember this. Not all progress is visible, but it's still progress. That's the kind that matters most.